Five-star Meleek Thomas, who is a top 10 recruit in the class of 2025, is down to 7 schools. 7 schools made the final list for Malik. Those schools are UConn, Kansas, Alabama, Arkansas, Pitt, Auburn, and Kansas State. I would define that as 4 of the most high-profile recruiting landing spots in college basketball. Pitt, Bruce Pearl, and Jerome Tang. That would be how I characterize this final list of 7. Malik Thomas is a bucket getter extraordinaire. We've talked about him on the channel before, and he gave some very revealing quotes in the past about UConn and his excitement to be courted by Dan Hurley after he turned down the Lakers job. He was feasting at Peach Jam. There's some new footage out. Courtside Films put out clips of him this morning, and just a really fun scorer to watch, man. He can score from everywhere on the court. What do you make of this final list of 7 for Malik?
It's an interesting list of schools because, obviously he's kind of like a home. There's some hometown kid stuff to him as well. Like, obviously he moved to play for Overtime Elite this upcoming season, but like, I've kind of been under the assumption that UConn is the leader here, and I think many people do believe that. But some of the quotes that he's given had me second guessing that somewhat. Now, not second guessing it to the point where I don't think that, he's going to be speaking stores in his college basketball career that's upcoming. But I do think it is something to monitor, given some of these things that he is saying about certain schools.
Yeah. Like what?
Well, like one that stuck out to me was the Pittsburgh one. Did you see that?
Bob Carrington getting some love?
Yeah, Bub Carrington giving a shout. Like he's one and done, played a huge role. I mean, obviously, like he was probably asked specifically about that school, and that is a good thing to come up with. But like, some of these quotes, I guess I give it a bit of a second thought, even though I'm still feeling pretty good that he's going to go to UConn.
Yeah, he dropped this exact quote. Seeing Bub Carrington go one and done plays a big role. Seeing him do this in the most recent year lets me know that they can do it. Look, I know I make jokes at Pitt's expense. Let's give them some actual shine. It's a really good pitch right now to be able to say, like, hey, we took this kid that was not necessarily a blue chip and turned him into one of the most explosive players that entered the NBA this year in one season. If we can do that with Bub, we could certainly do it with a 5-star like Malik. It is a good pitch, and it makes Pitt a legitimate threat in things like this in a way they haven't been in the past. So congrats, Tristan Freeman. That's a win for you and the other 7 Pitt fans that are out there. I still think this is UConn's to lose, man. I get like the warm and fuzzies every time he actually gets asked about UConn. Like it's like he's a smart kid and he knows everybody wants him and he's a bucket getter and he'll kind of give all the right answers. But when they ask about UConn, it just feels like that smile looks a little more genuine. And it's too good of a fit too.
That
Like
I was just gonna say like his game is just like I'm not saying his game can't translate anywhere. Like obviously Bama's on his list, good offense. Auburn does some things. He talked about Kansas State, Arkansas, all great schools on this list. But when you watch Malik Thomas play, I think we spoke on him when we did his initial recruiting video. The special part about his game offensively is that he works well, really well off the ball. Like, could you imagine what Hurley and Coach Murray would do with him as a weapon in their offensive arsenal? He'd be incredible. Like, he'd be cutting, he'd be moving, he'd be getting screens. I think he's an underrated playmaker. He can do some things passing the ball. Like, he would have a field day with Hurley as his head coach in that UConn offense. And also, like, his mentality, I think fits Hurley. Like, him and Hurley, I think, would be in lockstep because I think they both respectfully can have a screw loose sometimes in a good endearing way. So like it would work. The fit's too perfect.
yeah. Also, when talking about stores in UConn, he said, when I went there, I felt basketball. That's how I want to feel when I go to a program. Are you
That's
telling
su-
me that's not one of your favorite quotes of all time?
that's such a bar. I felt basketball. Nothing about family, nothing about culture. I felt hoop.
Yeah. Everybody else is like, oh, Chin Coleman and Bill Self. And then it's like, I felt basketball at its purest core. Yeah, this is UConn's to lose. I still feel it that way. Give me a quick film breakdown from the clips of him at Peach Jam. Anything new you saw from him?
I mean, nothing really much. The guy's a certified bucket, straight up. Like, I think he does it in a variety of ways. And like I pointed out just a second ago, like what he does off the ball is very impressive to me because there's a lot of guys that I think are buckets, but they need the ball in their hands. I think that one, he is dynamic with the ball in his hands, but two, he does a lot of great things off the ball that make you, kind of very intriguing to see how he could fit in at the next level. And also, like, you know, I think any coach that is recruiting him, like a UConn, that's feeling really good about it, you pair him with a really good point guard as well. Like, that's a elite freshman backcourt that you could have in the fold.
Yeah. What I do like about the Peach Jam footage is you saw him impacting the game in all ways and not just his scoring. His scoring is like the big sell because he can score from anywhere and it's so smooth. But he had some highlight blocks in this footage. He had some highlight passes in this footage. He was getting out in transition and just kind of blowing by people. I don't want to say any of that's new. So I think he's always been able to do it. But you don't see everybody do that stuff at Peach Jam. Sometimes there are guys you just see catch and get their 20 and look at me, step back jumper. Wahoo. Malik was like all over on both ends of the court. And I think this dude's a winner, which is partially why I think this dude is still going to UConn. I'll be really surprised if anybody else weasels their way in. But hey, there's 6 other schools that have a legitimate chance. Anytime you see Kansas, Nate Oates, and John Calipari right now, those schools are absolutely going to remain in the mix. Car, you know what I love about you?
That I'm handsome?
You're reliable. I can count on you. Honestly, you remind me of Aaron Henry a little bit. Remember when, their back was against the wall, nothing was going right, and man just showed up every day. He didn't make excuses. There were no problems. There were just solutions.
Sounds like me.
That's you. And it also reminds me of Duncan Mechanical Solutions, because if you're looking for quality furnace repair, look no further than the heating and air experts that you can trust. Comfort and quality are their standard. They're an HVAC company that serves Northeast Indiana and Southern Michigan, whether it's heating and air conditioning, plumbing, kitchen and bath remodeling, or emergency services when you need them most. Duncan Mechanical Solutions has reliable service that you can count on. Cart, remember when your basement almost exploded?
I remember when my basement almost exploded. I remember when my furnace itself was acting funny. I remember when my AC was acting funny. I wish I had Duncan in my back pocket. I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been anywhere in northern Indiana or southern Michigan that hasn't been perfectly cool or perfectly warm, depending on when the day called for. And that's because of Duncan Mechanical Solutions. They are the presenting sponsor for the month of July. Shout out to Duncan Mechanical Solutions. Go to duncanmechanicalsolutions.com to learn more.